Good morning, Vikings. Um, this is going to be the first. I've been doing this for other classes, but I think it's the first one that I'm doing for all of you. Um, and I think it's like a little bit easier to keep in contact this way. And sometimes it's easier hearing my voice instead of just looking at a post in classroom, especially for your class since the AP test is still tentative. I haven't heard official word from College Board yet. I think they released some sort of press statement, which I have to review before I kind of communicate and let everybody know what's happening. But in the meantime, I kind of want to keep a little bit of the schedule like we had originally planned and like I had talked about on last Friday. And that is to continue planning for the Create Performance task. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. Before I talk about that, we had finished with talking about your app analysis projects. Now, the circumstances aren't ideal right now, but you should have had a lot of it, or at least most of it, done right now. You should be able to communicate with your partner through the slides itself and still be working towards finishing it. I had one group turn the projects already, and I'm hoping to see more of your projects come in over the next day or so. I did want them due by yesterday, but I know these are special circumstances, so please try to get those done as soon as you can. The process of doing it, and like I mentioned before, is really good practice for thinking through the Create Performance task and looking at what you might want to create. Not that you want to create exactly like the apps that you were analyzing, but looking at the simplicity of once you take something that's complex and you break it apart into its smaller components, that there's a lot more that should appear to be attainable or doable with creating an app. And even taking a small portion of that for your Create Performance task could be pretty effective for your test. So I'm hoping that you're taking all of that into consideration. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be officially assigning the Create Performance task, so you can start coding, planning, and trying to make sense out of all the different things that you need. I'm going to take just maybe about 5-10 minutes at the most and walk through some of those initial steps. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show my screen here. Actually, that's not what I wanted. Hold on. Where did it go? There's that. And then you should be able to see, yep, there we go. Okay, this here. So this is chapter 3. It's the Create Performance task. And this is the starting screen. In fact, let me go back to this right here. Okay. So this should be pretty similar to the starting screen that you see for the Create Performance task within code.org. And we're looking mainly at just lesson 1 here. And there's a lot to look at for the day. So on this first page, which is the overview page, you see a lot of different resources here. And I ideally would like you to go through each one, because each one is going to help show some of the expectations and help give you an idea of what the expectation really is for this. So the first is the task and directions for students. This is the official release from College Board. And you should have seen this PDF before. We've looked at it several different times during the course of the year. But what we're looking at here, and you can see that there's a breakdown of the assessment and how it's calculated for your overall score. The Explore Performance task is worth roughly about 16% of the total AP test. The Create Performance task is worth roughly a fifth, which is 24%, and the multiple choice portion, which is the 2-hour multiple choice test, is worth about 60%. So over half of the test is just based on the multiple choice portion. I'm going to scroll down here to where it talks about collaboration. I would prefer that you do this on your own, especially because it's hard to collaborate given our circumstances right now. But I think sometimes on your own, doing the create performance task might be a little bit better. I think it's hard to coordinate with this with somebody else. If you want to give it a try, you're open to. I can't really prevent you from doing that. But my advice would be to do it on your own. I think you have a little bit more control over the process at that point. But I would suggest reading through it. If you still want to work with somebody and they're willing to work with you, then that's kind of up to you. But there is there's one kind of caveat regarding that. And if you look on that page here, it says for the create applications from ideas, performance tasks, you are encouraged to collaborate on the development of the program with another student in your class. But collaboration is not allowed during the creation of the video or when answering the written responses. So if you want to collaborate for the creation of just the app itself, you can. But there are some issues regarding that where you are the one that has to be the one that creates an algorithm for it, or one of the algorithms for it, that we could take credit for it on the written portion of the create performance task. And if any of what I'm saying doesn't make any sense, please let me know and I'll try to clarify in a different way. And I guess to put it simply, even though that if you were doing this as in a pair, you can't really use any more than 2 people for this. Even though you're collaborating on the app itself, you still have to write your own algorithm that you could take credit for that you then talk about in the written portion. You can't work on the same algorithm and both take credit for that same exact thing. And that's why I think it's more complicated to work with somebody else on it as opposed to just doing it on your own. But like I said, if you have questions and you still really want to work with somebody, let me know and I'll try to help you along in that process to make sure that you are following everything that you need to, so you get the credit you should be getting for the create performance task. Let's see. I don't remember if there's anything on this page. Let's see. There's some smaller items on this page that you should read through. I'll probably create, and I think I have kind of like a pared down version of this as like a step-by-step process. I'll try to find that and post that in Classroom when I can, either today or tomorrow. And just make sure that you're reading through each of the steps. So that was all for the Explorer. So guidelines for the create. This is the page that we're going to be focusing on right now. So make sure that you're aware of the performance task directions, timeline, and scoring criteria. Support your written analysis of your computing innovation. That's still Explore. I thought I said create. No, here's create. Here's what we want. So programming is a collaboration and create a process that brings ideas to life through the development of software. Programs can help solve problems, enable innovations, and express personal interests. In this performance task, you will be developing a program of your choice. Your development process should include iteratively designing, implementing, and testing your program. You're strongly encouraging to work with one another in your class. So even in the starting portion of this, I would say, aside from how you're getting graded on it, or not even graded, how you're getting scored on it by College Board, the first thing you need is an idea. And that's what I've been trying to kind of repeat over and over again over the last several weeks is you have to come with that idea first. You don't have to worry about anything else unless you already have an idea that you're working on. So whether it is a food app, a small game of some sort, almost like a retail site for like a shopping or something along those lines, you have to have that idea first before you even go forward and try to work on any code. So this week, have an idea that you're going to go forward with. Start getting some of the screens set up in App Lab and start getting some of the code running. Then from there, we can look at the extra stuff that we'll have to do to meet the requirements of the create performance task. I don't think you can even worry about any of that until you have some of the basics done on those screens and what it's going to be. And I think that's going to be like the basis process of it. So get some of it designed. Then we'll worry about some of the back-end code that has to, where an algorithm has to run, have your functions, and some other things. Continuing on with that overview, that you will be provided with a minimum of 12 hours of class time to complete and submit the following. Now, that's a minimum of 12 hours. You could spend as much time on this as you want. from my end, I have to provide at least 12 hours. That is the mandatory setup for this. Now, given our current situation of doing this from home and doing this remotely, you have a somewhat infinite amount of time. Now, remember, I cannot help you with the actual code. I could give some recommendations in terms of your approach, some of your ideas, which I am willing to do. But your best bet is to stay in contact. Ask me those questions. Post in Classroom, on this post, and let's start opening up a dialogue that we can all kind of talk and benefit. If you know of a better way to communicate or something else that you want to try, let me know and I'm willing to try it. I don't like being away from all of you this long. Still with the expectation of everybody being able to complete this and do a good job on it. So this is new territory for me as well, and I hope we can kind of figure this out together. Now, a couple additional things, and like I said, I'm going to keep this short. I'm not going to cover too much more in this one session. But you're going to have a video of your program running, and I have some really easy ways to show you how to do a video even from your school devices. And I'm going to create, I've already created a tutorial for this, and I'll post a link to that at a later time. But you also have a page of individual written responses about your program. You have to answer, and you have to do snapshots of your program code, primarily for the parts that show an algorithm running. So that's a brief overview. Continue reading on through this. And any questions that you have, anything that you're not really sure on what it means, I'm going to have a place in Classroom to post those, because I'm sure that you're not the only one that has that question, and I will try to answer all of those all at once. All right, I think there's one more thing I wanted to show. Let me go back to this screen. So here are the scoring guidelines for the Create Performance task. Make sure you take a look at those, and start taking a look at the video samples and the different responses. It's going to give a good indication of what you should be doing for your Create Performance task and how high you should be setting the bar, because I want this to be attainable within this amount of time, but at the same time I would also want it to be meaningful for you. You're putting in a lot of time into this project, and I want it to be something that you're proud of. So hopefully we could hit all of those marks. Down here towards the bottom, they have what they're calling an exemplar. So an exemplar is an ideal example of what we're shooting for. And somebody created a grumpy cat, app. So make sure you take a look at that, and that's going to be kind of your benchmark for what you're going to create. And also, it's a good example of how simple it could be and still meet all the different requirements. All right. I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. Hopefully I'm not, and I hope that everybody is doing well. If you have any questions, once again, please let me know. Post them in Classroom, or just email me directly. I'm online quite a bit right now, just to make sure that I can help anybody that needs it. And you'll hear from me again soon, probably tomorrow or Friday. So I'm hoping that everybody is doing well, staying sane, staying safe, staying healthy, everything above, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I'll see you.